All right, it is now 7:30 p.m. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you for joining me for this very special webinar. I've covered this webinar a couple of times before, and I would like to present I believe, the third and final installment of the Personal Income Tax Wealth Building webinar. Now, in this webinar, I'm going to be discussing you see your income tax check for the year. So the title of the webinar is the way great business relationship with the IRS. And let's start it. So a little bit before I start, I just wanted to share a few things about me so you know who's speaking with you. My name is Leon Benjamin, and I just have a few credentials that I'd like to share with you. Don't want to bore you with an extensive list. So the first thing I'd like to know is I'm an IT professional. I'm not a tax consultant. I'm not an expert in tax. And I do understand how taxes work, and that's one of the reasons why I even looked into finding ways to make tax beneficial for the average individual. Um, I'm also something called a real estate jumper, which means I purchase properties sometimes and live in those properties, fix them up, and then I resell these properties for a profit. And the third thing I'd like you to know is that I'm a self-published author. I've written several books, about six or seven counting right now. I have a few of them still needing some work to get done, but I have about six or seven. If you search Amazon, you should be able to find those books. And lastly, I'd like to emphasize that I'm also an avid researcher, philanthropist, and truth seeker. So, regardless of what I do, I always seek out the truth, and I always seek to make things for my man or woman. So, much of what I do is not necessarily a personal thing. It's usually to make things better for the life of other people. And that's one of the reasons why I am making a part of um, this disclosure 100% free. So the information provided here is freely available. You can do whatever you want with it, or you can do nothing. It's totally up to you, but the information is totally free, and you can use it to actually better your life. So with that being said, let's jump into the topic of taxes. Now, in order to proceed on a positive note, we first have to understand taxes and cover some common errors in thinking about taxes. The first thing that usually comes to mind for the average person is taxes makes life difficult. It makes things hard to pay. People say taxes are hard to pay. People say taxes are evil. They say taxes should be eliminated, blah, 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 blah. But you see, when you get down to what taxes really are, most people that I've known and speak with, they think of taxes as a burden. Even though they might understand how some of the taxes being collected are being used, they still don't like it. They still don't think it's something good for anyone. They want to get out of it. And for that reason, sometimes they try to find creative ways to avoid taxes, which I can say, just don't do it. Just don't even think about trying to or subvert taxes. Just stay in the legal lane. That's all I can say on that. There are many celebrities and many different people that you've heard about over the years that the IRS have made an example out of, and you don't need to be one of those people. Right now, I'm pretty sure you're managing quite well with taxes the way they are. This is simply to enhance that. So the first thing we need to do is understand what taxes are. What exactly is the definition of taxes? And if we look in a dictionary, specifically Webster's dictionary in this case, it says taxes in its most extended sense includes all contributions imposed by the government upon individuals for the service of the state by whatever name they are called or known, whether by the name of tribute, tithe, talliage, impost, duty, gabble, custom, subsidy, aid, supply, excise, or other name. So, this is something imposed by the government upon individuals or people who work and get paid for the service of the state. Meaning, if you're living in the state, there are some services that the government provides, and these services are obviously not free. You pay for these services, like, road construction, road maintenance, the lights on the road. You talk about various public services like licensing, the police department, the fire department, all these different things get subsidized by your taxes, by collecting taxes from each and every person that contributes to society. Now, regardless of how you feel about taxes, it must be paid if you want to live in peace. You just don't want to try to avoid taxes. It's not smart. It's just not something you want to have catch up with you. Because the penalties that you'll pay on top of having to still pay taxes is not fun for anyone. Not even the IRS. Sometimes they don't even bother coming after you until it's gotten large enough for them to come after you for. Because it's not fruitful for them to pursue every single case of tax evasion, tax fraud, blah blah blah. So just don't do the evasive thing with taxes. Just leave that alone. That's just my humble opinion on that. I'm not even going to say advice. That's my humble opinion on, trying to avoid taxes. So, taxes, liability to free income. Out of just about everyone that I've spoken with regarding taxes, no one actually had a real solution to really make taxes beneficial other than starting a business and getting yourself in debt. And it amazed me because, when I started researching and looking into the different ways that I could get taxes to work for me, I'm just surprised that this is not common knowledge. It's very interesting to me, but we all hope for a refund when we file our taxes. But we don't even know, some of us don't even really know how that works. Why do we even get a refund? In some cases, it's because of children. That's the most common reason people get a refund on their taxes: school and business. Other than that, the regular person is just wishing and hoping that they get some good amount back on their at the end of the year when they file their taxes. Or the beginning of the year when they file their taxes. So we just hope for a refund when we file our taxes. But what makes a refund possible? It's very simple. You have to overpay. Paying more taxes than required guarantees a refund. So, for instance, you actually have what's called a tax bracket. So, you fall within a tax bracket. If you're at the end of that tax bracket, like for instance, if the IRS says if you make between $50,000 and $70,000, you have to pay 20% of your income, right? So if you make $50,000 per year before taxes, and you fall into that tax bracket, you actually pay more taxes than a person that is making $70,000 per year. And what happens is, if you claim no exemptions on your tax document, which is your W-4, if you claim zero exemptions, what happens is they take out the maximum amount of taxes from your paycheck, and that guarantees that you get back a larger paycheck because they've overcharged you the highest amount possible for your pay bracket. Therefore, when you get your paycheck back, you actually get, a sizable refund, however you want to term that. Now, that means you should never take any deductions whenever you file your taxes. If you want a refund, of course, that's the condition. Don't take deductions. You also make everything possible that you can do to increase your chances of getting more money back from there. So, certain like work clothes, travel, and all those different things that may fall under the job category, you want to do those things. But the most important thing is you never want to take deductions or exemptions. You don't want to claim exemptions and deductions from your taxes before the end of the year. Now, taxable refund as tax-free income. Now, we just learned that overpayment guarantees a refund. So the more you overpay, the more you get back. All you have to do is change your W-4 as soon as possible. So if you take a pay cut now, you can reap big rewards later on. And when I say big rewards, I mean this really adds up. For example, if you overpaid $1,000, that's an extra $1,000 that you will get back at the beginning of the year. Lump sum, right away. And guess what? That's tax-free money, meaning taxes are never taken out of this money. Do you understand that? This is pre-tax money. So you're getting 100% of that money that was collected from you. Right? So what you want to do first is to change your W-4 form so that you could claim that overpayment. And you can change that W-4 form any time of the year. You can go there tomorrow or whenever is the earliest date that you go back to work. You can go in there, request a W-4 form, make the changes, and give it to your HR department. And they will make those changes go into effect immediately. Now, on the W-4 form, you have number 5 and number 6. Everything else is standard. But on number 5, it asks you the total number of allowances you're claiming. It says from line H above or from the applicable worksheet on page 2. Number 5 should always be 0. You don't want to claim any allowances. That's how you claim 0 on your tax return. Claim 0 for number 5. Number 6 is actually very interesting. It says additional amount, if any, you want withheld from each paycheck. What this means is, do you want to allow your job to send more money than required to the IRS? And if so, how much more do you want them to send? You can send your entire paycheck to the IRS. They don't care. I mean, I wouldn't advise that unless you had a second stream of income, because how would you support yourself? But you can literally put as much as you want in that